Hello everyone, welcome back to Current Economy and Investment Insights. And of course we have Paul Munichol from Wells Fargo to give us an update as to what happened in the trading floors and what happened in the financial arena.
Absolutely. Last week was a shortened week because of the holidays, so the markets were closed on Friday and we had a half day on Thursday. So what we saw was stocks finished a holiday shortened week on a positive note. The Dow rose 93 points to close above 17,000 at an all-time high of 17,068. The S&P 500 gained 11 points to reach a record level of 1,985, and the Nasdaq was 28 points higher at 4,485. The major averages rallied on Thursday after a better-than-expected jobs report. Non-farm payrolls rose 288,000 in June. That's above the projected 215,000 increase. The unemployment rate fell to 6.1% last month versus the consensus expectation to remain at 6.3%. Weekly jobless claims rose 2,000 to 315,000. The market was also higher after the European Central Bank held its benchmark interest rate steady at the conclusion of its policy meeting. In other news, Lululemon added 2.9% to 4260 amid reports the yoga apparel maker explored the possibility of going private. Shares of PetSmart jumped 12.5% to 67.28 after activist investment firm Jana Partners disclosed a stake in the company. Materials and industrials were the best performing group on the session. We saw Freeport-McMoRan advance 1.8% to 38.51. General Electric was 0.9% higher at 26.86. But utilities were the worst performing sector in the S&P 500. Exelon fell 1.8% to 33.97. Dominion Resources declined 1.4% to 68.66. Breadth was positive on issues by 4-3 and on the New York Stock Exchange and 2-1 on the Nasdaq. New York Stock Exchange composite volume totaled more than 1.9 billion shares. Treasuries retreated following the better-than-expected employment data. The benchmark 10-year note fell 4/30 seconds to yield 2.64%. In summary, last week the Dow was up 1.3%, S&P 500 gained 1.2%, and the Nasdaq rose 2%.
And CNNMoney.com reported this morning that Monday is throwing water on the embers of last week's fireworks. The market is lower in mid-morning trading, with the Dow Jones average about 60 points down. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq composite indexes were also around 0.5% lower. Today's soft start comes after a record-setting close to last week's that saw Dow finish above 17,000 for the first time ever. The Dow is hovering right around that level, and I guess the market is kind of falling a little bit. Just a few moments ago before we went on the air, the Dow was a minus 64.12, Nasdaq a minus 27.56, S&P 500 is down 8.73. Paul, is there any newsy thing coming up this week?
Yeah, we've got a couple of reports. It's the start of earnings season again. So we have Alcoa reporting this week, and Wells Fargo are two of the larger companies that people are anxiously awaiting to see how earnings come in on them. And on Wednesday we have the release of the Fed minutes from their last meeting, so people read that in detail to try and get a gauge on where interest rates are going and what the Fed's thinking.
Well, it's encouraging that we hit 17,000 with the Dow, and probably there's some street whispers going on that we may hit 20,000 in a year or so down the line. Of course, that's all conjecture by people who think that the market is going to continue rallying, which we know it's not.
Right. I mean, there's quote unquote experts out there. One of them will think the market's crashing tomorrow. The next will think the Dow's going to 20,000. So you you got to pick and choose what you're going to believe in, because we can find evidence and data to support both cases.
Yeah, exactly. Very strongly, too. Well, we're going to be going into investment insights. Paul is going to be talking about planning for incapacity, and Paul is going to tell us about what we should be thinking about in case that were to happen to either yourself or your spouse. So stay with us, and this should be very interesting. Hello everyone, we're back with Investment Insights, today being July 7, 2014. Paul is going to be talking about not investments this time. He's going to be talking about how to protect your assets and what you should do if you become incapacitated. Paul, that's a very interesting topic, and I'm sure there's a lot to share with us.
There is. I mean, preparing for the worst case scenarios, it does bring some peace of mind, during the best of times. And here's an example of why. In 2003, there was a gentleman named Tom, and he was a healthy 43-year-old approaching the height of his earning power and living the happiest days of his life. He had a great job that fulfilled him, a loving wife, and he was a scratch golfer to boot. Life was good. But one day, as Tom was walking through the airport in Denver, his co-worker noticed Tom was weaving as he walked and slurring as he spoke. They were on their way to a business meeting when Tom collapsed and had a massive stroke that no one, including Tom or his doctors, ever saw coming. You probably didn't realize, but 41% of long-term care services provided in the United States, they go to people under the age of 65. And Tom would be a recipient possibly of some type of care like that.
Well, Paul, it sounds like this type of planning is something everyone should do.
It should be. Everyone needs to plan ahead for such a risk of becoming incapacitated. And if you have a spouse or partner, you need to plan together. We all anticipate mental and physical decline when we're much older, but anything can happen in the blink of an eye long before we reach old age. No one wants to think about it, but the smartest of us know preparation beats denial every time.
Boy, that's for sure. And what are the documents that every individual should have prepared for this?
Well, today we're going to talk about just 4 essential documents you should have in place today, and that you and your spouse or partner should review probably annually.
Okay, and what would be the first one?
First one is the durable power of attorney. A durable power of attorney gives the person that you designate the authority to handle your financial affairs. It's valid immediately after you sign it and will continue to be effective if you become incapacitated. It can provide some, but not all, of the benefits of a revocable living trust.
Okay, what about healthcare?
Healthcare, there's something called a healthcare power of attorney, and that healthcare power of attorney designates a trusted relative or friend to make decisions regarding your medical care if you are incapacitated and unable to make such decisions for yourself.
All right, and I'm sure, and I'd be willing to bet that a trust or a will is very necessary.
Absolutely. There's something called a living will, and a living will provides direction to your physician regarding your wishes as to whether or not you want to be kept artificially alive with medical treatment if there is no reasonable chance that you will recover. And of course, a will, in the event of your death, a will provides the security of knowing that you have left behind a plan for the distribution of your assets. It's often used to nominate an individual to serve as a guardian of surviving minor children. And then beyond that, you could take it a step further and possibly do a trust. Some clients like trust because they typically will avoid probate.
Right, right. Where can people turn to get more advice on this, Paul?
A couple places are, of course, your lawyer, because financial advisors cannot do wills or trusts or power of attorneys. Or you could talk to your financial advisor about who you need to work with specifically to create or update your 4 essential documents. In addition, you can discuss your estate planning strategy and learn about ways that we can help make sure your assets end up where you want and with whom you want them.
Okay, Paul, there's a lot behind this. I know this show went very quickly. People need to do a lot of planning, a lot of thinking. They need to talk to some professional person. So I'm going to put your number at the bottom of the screen in case there are some questions that one might have, and then you can guide them from that point forward. Paul, you need to share some complaints with us, or did you have any more to talk about?
I guess the only thing in conclusion is, like I mentioned, financial advisors won't write up wills or trusts or power of attorney documents. Those are all things you need to meet with an attorney to do. But now is the time to do it while you're healthy and you can make sound decisions. Most people put these decisions off to their later in age, but in the example we gave today, of what happened to Tom, you never know. And now is the time to do it, not later.
Right. When you have a good sense of knowing what you want and maybe your spouse at the same time.
And no one wants to think something's going to happen to them, but
Yeah.
it does make you feel better in the back of your mind to
Yep.
know, hey, if something does, I don't have to worry about my planning. I've designated the people I want to care for me.
Right.
Because in some family situations, that can get a little sticky. Who is in charge of those decisions should something happen, and this clearly will lay it all out.
Exactly. All right, Paul, complaints.
Compliance, yes. Wells Fargo Advisors does not provide tax or legal advice. However, we'd be happy to work with your chosen legal or tax advisors to create a strategy that's right for you. There are typical compliance. Investments in securities and insurance products are not FDIC insured, not bank guaranteed, and may lose value. And Wells Fargo Advisors, LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer and separate non-bank affiliate of Wells Fargo and Company.
Paul, I'm just going to reiterate again, it's so important that for people to not only have a financial advisor, but also see an attorney or professional person that could properly guide them through all of their investments and well-being after they're gone, what happens to them and their families.
Right, and we just went over just the very basics today.
Yes.
It gets very complicated and very customized for each
Right, each family.
relationship. Each
Right.
family's got different needs and different desires, and there's no cookie-cutter way to set this stuff up.
Exactly, well put. Well, for Paul Munico from Wells Fargo, branch in Palos Heights, and myself, Ron Jankowski, with Channel 4, we wish you a good investment day.